your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store and get everything you need.
While the world hunts for gold in Tokyo, you can unlock FanDuel's gold medal bonus. Yes, FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, is hooking all users up with $1 for every USA gold medal. Just place $100 or more in Olympic bets before July 26. You can bet on any Olympic event. Whatever you choose, just remember to place $100 or more in Olympic bets before July 26th to get a $1 bonus for every USA gold medal. Promotions like this are just one of the reasons why I love betting with FanDuel Sportsbook. New users, don't forget to download the FanDuel Sportsbook app with promo code Hennig and go for the gold today. That's promo code Hennig to bet the Olympics with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. Bonus issued non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $50. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show. Just follow 97.3 ESPN. I was on the air for 4 hours yesterday. I'm back here for 2 hours today. I'll be with Billy Schwein tomorrow. Apparently, I'm not getting any sleep. Today, I have tea, coffee, and water with me. So we'll see how that holds up for me today on 97.3 ES. As long as we don't have the incident yesterday. For those who were listening yesterday, it was really funny because in the 5 o'clock hour, I think I hit the peak of too much caffeine because I started talking too fast, even for my brain and mouth to keep up. So we'll see how I do today on 97.3 ESPN. Busy show today. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who is he? How did he become an NBA champion? I don't think people understand this guy is... Giannis is like the embodiment of like the American success story, basically. And Mirin Fader is going to join us. She's from The Ringer. She's one of their writers. She's wrote the new book that comes out August 10th about Giannis's entire life and how he became an NBA champion. Plus, in the 1 o'clock hour at 1:20, we'll be joined by Sportsnet's NFL analyst and fantasy sports expert Andy McNamara. You've heard Andy with me every week throughout the NFL season. We'll dig deeper into getting you ready for the NFL season. Training camp, we have a couple teams have already reported. Cowboys, Steelers, Tampa, Eagles report on Tuesday. What's going on with these teams? What are the storylines to keep an eye on? We got to get to all of it coming up with Andy McNamara coming up at 1:20. Plus, Elliot Friedman, who's covered the NHL for I think as long as I've been alive, basically, is saying that apparently there is a trade in the works involving Jacob Voracek to guess what team? Columbus. Last time I checked, didn't Voracek play for Columbus already? So, wait, what? Columbus wants him back now that Tortorella's out there? Like, my goodness. So, we'll keep an eye on that as well. You know, Chuck Fletcher said yesterday that he thought he was done trading for the year. And now all of a sudden, as Billy calls him, Trader Chuck is out there. He's out there trying to listen. Here's the deal. I know some people are frustrated with the Ristolainen trade because they felt they gave up too much to get him. Some people feel like they gave up, you're giving up a first round pick and giving up Haig. Some people are frustrated. If you get rid of Voracek today, I think that will convert all the people who are frustrated with the Rasmus Ristolainen trade. Because to me, Jacob Voracek and his contract is one of the biggest abominations in hockey. There is no reason why a guy like Voracek should be being paid what he is. He's being paid to be an elite forward when he's a very good forward. He's not elite. He's paid like an elite forward. And what I mean by that is really quick before I get to the Phillies and the Eagles and such. I think one of the most overrated stats in hockey is the assist. Because you literally can pass the puck to two other people and get a score off an assist. Okay? Goal scoring to me is way more valuable than being some dude who accumulated assists every year. And that's my problem with Voracek. While Giroux is at least getting you goals still, there's so many times Voracek is just a point man on a power play because you didn't have a good enough defenseman available to play the point on the power play. Like, if you had a better defenseman to play the point on the power play, you don't need Voracek to play the point on the power play. So to me, you get Ristolainen, you get Ryan Ellis. I don't need Voracek to be this faux pas point on the power play anymore. Him and his stupid second assist every other game. And I understand that a lot of guys, he's a popular guy in the locker room. He's a guy that the players get along with very well. And you know what? From everything I've heard and read, he seems like a nice guy, but I just don't like his contract. And I think that he needs to be done in Philadelphia. So if that trade can get done, I'll be happy at least. But that would make 4 trades in 7 days for the Flyers. Who would have thought that? So we'll keep you updated as those updates come down right here on 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open as always, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. So again, the trade has not been announced yet, but there's a lot of smoke right now with Voracek to Columbus. So we'll keep you updated on that. Speaking of teams that should be making trades, okay, the Phillies finally won a game yesterday. How about that? Must be nice. Phillies finally won a game, and it really came down to 2 people last night. You know, watching the game, and Zach Wheeler has another stellar, great performance. And listen, if it wasn't for Jacob deGrom and his historic season, you could consider Zach Wheeler to be a Cy Young candidate in the National League. And he had another great performance last night. Bryce Harper stepping up for the team. He stole second. He stole third. He stole home. I mean, Bryce Harper doing whatever it takes. And that's one thing I like about Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper, he's a little underrated in terms of his desire to win. He wants to win ball games. And how about that wacky hit by Segura yesterday? I mean, he really golf balled that ball off almost the dirt into the outfield for a base hit. So Phillies found a way to get a win. I said to you guys yesterday here on 97.3 ESPN that that was the game you had to win. You can't waste Zach Wheeler's starts, okay? You can't waste when he is out there on the field. Because you have your best pitcher. You have 4 starters who are suspicious, in my opinion, okay? They're suspect. They're not trustworthy. You can't trust Nola. He's got a 4.64 ERA this year. Vince Velasquez is Jekyll and Hyde. Zach Eflin apparently has been working through some nagging injury that he's been playing through this year. And then, I mean, who's the other starter? Is it Spencer Howard for 3-4 innings? Is it Matt Moore? You know, the starting rotation right now is a mess. So, to me, it was important to win the game last night, but also it's important moving forward to find a way for this team to they got to find their way out of the woods, for lack of a better term. They got to get through this weekend and make a trade. And as I said yesterday, when the Mets trade for Rich Hill and looking at what they gave up, maybe they gave up a little bit too much to get Rich Hill, depending on who you ask. But you know what? I would like to see the Phillies get some pitching. You know, I talked with Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City and was Frank Close, our Phillies insider for 97.3 ESPN.com yesterday. And I strongly believe that if you are the Phillies, you have to get pitching. And I don't understand what's taking so long. I understand that maybe I'm just being an impatient person, because I look at the Phillies and I say, why aren't you making any moves? So the Flyers are potentially making 4 trades in a week. It's just wild how much they've been. And by the way, you know who's available for trade, but is not being traded to the Phillies. So how about this story really quick in baseball? So John Heyman's reporting that Max Scherzer is being discussed in potential trade. So the Nationals are looking to sell at the deadline. All right. But the idea is that Scherzer has to waive his no trade clause. So he is in total control of where he goes. And the speculation out there is that the Nationals can trade Scherzer to a team that's looking for a rental pitcher for the rest of the year. And then Scherzer could go back to Washington and re-sign for the rest of his career. Unless he gets traded to one place. Again, this is where it gets interesting. So Max Scherzer, for those who don't know, he's from Missouri. He went to the University of Missouri. And there's a lot of speculation out there. There's only one team, not the Nationals, that he would sign with his offseason. It's the St. Louis Cardinals. And right now, the St. Louis Cardinals are not really in the playoff hunt. So there's really no incentive for the Cardinals to acquire him at this point in time. Okay? The Cardinals are 8 games out of the Central. And of course, we know the NL wild card, it comes down to all the teams in the West. It's the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants, and the 2 teams don't win the division out West. They're going to win the wild card because the Cardinals are 8 games back in the wild card as well. So how about that reality? They could trade Max Scherzer to the Nationals and then re-sign him in the offseason. It's like a Aroldis Chapman with the Yankees and the Reds all over again. Sorry, the Yankees and the Cubs all over again. Remember the whole thing? They traded Aroldis Chapman, they got prospects, and they got him back in free agency. You can see the Nats do the same thing. But it's a shame that Phillies are not in a position to get Scherzer because I would love to see it. But according to Bob Nightingale of USA Today, the Phillies, the guys they're interested in right now, they're keeping an eye on Merrill Kelly. He is one of the starting pitchers for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, right now, Kelly on the year has an okay record, okay? He's not great on the year, but recent weeks, he's pitched a lot better, okay? He is 4-0 in his last 6 starts with a 2.56 ERA. So the Arizona Cardinals are seemingly trying to capitalize on the last few weeks and then trading him. So to me, the Phillies need to get somebody. And hopefully it's pitching. Because if the Flyers end up making another trade today, that means the Flyers have made more trades this, I don't know, how do I put this? They've made more trades this last 7 days than transactions the Phillies have made outside their organization in basically the last year. And by the way, according to multiple reports, it looks like the Voracek trade is done. So Jake Voracek is going to Columbus for Cam Atkinson. According to reports, it is a straight-up contract-for-contract deal. Still working on all the particulars, but it looks like it's just Voracek for Cam Atkinson. And this is the question I asked before, and that was I've asked him multiple times to a lot of people, and that is, can you find somebody else's rough contract to absorb to get rid of Voracek? So in trading Voracek, who, remember, he was going to make about almost $8.3 million this year. He's going to be 32 next season. And what you're doing is you're trading him for a guy with a similar contract at a similar age. They're both 32 years old. They're different style players. They're both being paid a nice chunk of money. But the big difference between Voracek and Atkinson is that Atkinson at least has a larger history of goal scoring, all right? Just 2 seasons ago, Atkinson scored 41 goals. Atkinson has scored 20 or more goals 6 times in his career. 6 times in 10 years. So you're giving up a guy who the time had basically run out on this for Voracek. And you're getting a guy in Atkinson that I think is much more necessary for this team. This team needs a guy who's got a little bit more of a scoring punch. And that's what you get with Atkinson. Atkinson also plays a lot of games. All right, he's played 78 or more games 5 times in his career already. And most of those seasons were in recent years. So I understand he's had a couple of injuries in his career that have limited him, but I like the deal. You know, you got to move on from Voracek. You got a player that makes a lot of sense for you, for the Flyers moving forward. So we'll get deeper into then again. It's 4 trades now that Chuck Fletcher has made in the last 7 days. And this time there was no draft picks involved. It was just Atkinson for Voracek. So I got to say, I would think that if you're a Flyers fan, you got to be happy because the Voracek deal is done. It's a done deal. And according to this, the Flyers are going to save $2.4 million towards the salary cap because of the Voracek-Atkinson trade. So you got rid of Voracek and you're saving money. That's a win-win to me for the Flyers. Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN, live here in the Matt Black Kia Studios. We're going to switch over to basketball coming up next. Mirin Fader from The Ringer, new book coming out August 10th about Giannis and his rise to become the league MVP, finals MVP. We'll ask her for her insights about who I think should be everybody's favorite NBA player right now. Not Kevin Durant, not Kyrie, not LeBron. No, it should be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Find out why next here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Watch the show. Join the conversation. I see guys like Paul and Jacob on the YouTube stream. I see Dan EHT on the text board with all your guys' messages a little bit later this hour.
This weekend on Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio, the Chicago White Sox sit high atop the AL Central, while the Milwaukee Brewers in first in the NL Central. And the two go head-to-head this weekend in Milwaukee.
Well struck left center field, way back and gone. Jose Abreu will touch them all.
The Brewers and White Sox. Coverage begins today at 6:30 Eastern. Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Homeowners, no need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all, so you only have to call one number, 609-641-6262. Jenkins & Sons has been on the job since 1949. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services, one call does it all. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com. That's 609-641-6262 or jenkinsandsons.com.
Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you.
Tired of sitting in traffic? If you won the $174 million Powerball jackpot, you could take your private jet anywhere. After all, anything can happen in Jersey.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig back here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch the show, join the conversation. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. And, of course, you can chime in on the stream. We'll get to your thoughts a little bit later this hour. But joining us right now on the show, she's the author of the new book, Giannis, The Improbable Rise of an NBA MVP, about a book about the man that I've been telling you guys, if you are a casual or an intermediate basketball fan, this is the guy you should be a fan of, because Giannis embodies everything sports fans say they should love. And we will talk about Giannis right now with Mirin from The Ringer right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Mirin, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you jumping on. So anytime anybody writes a book, I love the first question to be this. Why this topic? What drew you to Giannis?
He is not just an amazing dominant basketball player. He has a human backstory that is so interesting and compelling. And when I see him on the court, I have so many questions, We only know so little about him. Sold trinkets on the street, becomes a superstar. There's like nothing in between. So I just thought, let me write a book and try to find answers to those questions.
So when you were going through the process of doing this, where did you feel like you had to start? Because with Giannis, there's so much there. And obviously the book, you go into very deep detail about it. So where did you have to start for you to feel like you were getting that best parts of the story?
To be honest, birth. I mean, I found out that the family actually hadn't intended to come to Greece. They actually went to Germany because their dad, Charles, was a soccer player and he had an opportunity there. When he got injured, that's when they came to Greece. So for me, it was like, how can I figure out this family's journey from the get-go, from the beginning? Why did they even leave Nigeria in the first place? Because it's just so important to ground this story geographically, racially, so many different identities to work with that I really needed to process before I even got to age 13, where he picks up a basketball.
Now, you mentioned about his family coming from Nigeria, going to Greece. We know for Giannis, family is a huge deal for him. And I think that, to me, when you listen to him do interviews, he talks about his brothers, he talks about his family. And to me, Giannis is refreshing, because in a world where so many athletes, let's be realistic, a lot of these guys, they might be nice, decent people, but they're self-absorbed. They come from some privileged backgrounds. They come from environments where they played AAU basketball. They got college scholarships. Giannis had none of that. And to me, the fact that he is still in touch and so in tune with his background, his family, to me is refreshing.
It's so refreshing. I mean, one of my favorite anecdotes while reporting this book was talking with Jared Dudley, and Jared told me that he had to convince Giannis at age 21 to move out of his home with his mother. For us, we'd be like, okay, yeah, I need to go out on my own. But for Giannis, he's like, no, this is absurd. Like, that's my mother. I want to live with her. And so there's close, and then there's Giannis and his family close. And it's beautiful, and it's wonderful, and it should be celebrated.
The book is Giannis, The Improbable Rise of an NBA MVP. It debuts August 10th. You can pre-order it right now over at Amazon. Mirin Fader joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. I mentioned the fact that he's so different than other athletes. And I think that in today's world, Giannis became a champion and an MVP, I think, at the perfect time. Because in a world where, let's be realistic, this is the first NBA Finals in maybe 15 years at least that we haven't had a villain, right? There are people who don't like LeBron, people who don't like Kevin Durant, there are people who don't like all these guys. There's nothing you can dislike about Giannis. That's why I've been saying that this book is perfect, because this is the time for this book to come out and say, hey, you want to know more about Giannis? Which I know I certainly do. I feel like I need this book in my life at this point. This is the guy you can latch on to. The guy's going to Chick-fil-A and ordering chicken nuggets, for goodness sake, and then putting it out on social media. Like, there's so much good wholesomeness with him that I think it gets overlooked and underappreciated.
It does. And also keep in mind that he's undercovered. And I don't know if that's because he's international or whatever. I think the NBA needs to do a much better job of highlighting stars like Giannis's story. Like, just like we know so little about Giannis, we know so little about Joker. We know so little about Luka. Like, how? These are the faces of our league. And we don't know anything about them. And they're not lacking in personality, and they're not lacking in human interest stories. They're not lacking in fascinating backstories. We've got to do a better job of being the connective tissue in terms of storytelling, because there is so much here for these guys.
You mentioned about how the NBA can promote them more. Do you think part of that is because Joker's in Denver, Giannis is in Milwaukee, even Luka, and sometimes doesn't get as much coverage as he could. He's in Dallas. They're not in LA. They're not in New York. For example, Joel Embiid in our backyard, he's in Philadelphia. And, he walks down the street in Marty, people are taking pictures and putting it on social media, right? It's just a different world in those bigger cities. You think that has something to do with it?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, even look at just the amount of times that the Bucks were broadcast. There's so much bias against Milwaukee. And that's why I think it's really cool what they've done this year, because they were like, okay, you don't want to put us primetime. Okay, you don't want to give us our respect. Okay, you don't think we're contenders. Okay, you don't want to write about us. Chris Middleton should be a profile from every outlet. And then it seemed like everybody rushed to do the Chris Middleton story right in the last possible moment of the playoffs, So I hope this changes things. Small market teams are not just small market teams. They're teams with wonderful players with interesting, compelling stories. And, when Giannis said, like, I did it the hard way, like, I didn't go to a super team. Like, I don't know. I feel like we really need to take that statement seriously. He's doing it different than anyone else. He is probably the most different, the most unique modern day superstar I've ever seen.
Do you think also part of it is because Giannis is a good human being, that he doesn't get as much coverage sometimes? Because I feel like we live in a society, people are infatuated with the negative. People are obsessed with the bad. We don't talk about the good things athletes do enough. JJ Watt raises all that money a couple of years ago for Houston in hurricane relief. All people can say is, well, JJ Watt can't stay healthy. It's like, but he just raised like $30 million to help people. Do you think that's part of the problem, that we look at Giannis, or we look at a guy like Steph Curry and like, oh, they're too nice, they're too wholesome, there's not enough flaws there?
Yeah, it's part of it. I mean, look at the Kyrie thing. He does a lot of humanitarian work outside, and we never hear about it. We just hear about the negative about Kyrie. But it's also because I think in Giannis in particular, because we're talking about him, I think that for whatever reason, it goes beyond, oh, he's so wholesome, I don't want to talk about that. It's that the things that are core to Giannis's identity, work ethic, being a good person, being a good teammate, those are not quote unquote sexy. But really, ask any athlete, that is the blueprint for success. It is very simple. Work your hardest, sacrifice. I guess that doesn't make a compelling enough narrative for some people, but, I don't really get it, because when I look at Giannis and I see how he goes from goofball to profit real quick, I think, this guy should be on every billboard. This guy should be on every magazine. This guy should be on every commercial. He is interesting. And you want to put interesting people forward.
Again, the book is Giannis, The Improbable Rise of an NBA MVP. You can pre-order it right now. It comes out August 10th. Mirin Fader joining us right now to talk about Giannis, the rise of an NBA MVP, which at this point has to be addended to rise of a champion at this point. You might need to come out a couple of new editions here, maybe come out with a special edition paperback cover, kind of thing. You might have to do that, Mirin.
I know. I kind of think we're in conversations about what to do with that exactly. When we came out with the book, we thought, okay, like he'll be in free agency. That'll be so relevant, and then Giannis is like, actually, I'm going to do it completely different. I'm going to announce it in December, leaving you with not knowing how to end your book. Obviously, I don't matter in Giannis's world, but, so I could have never predicted this. And you might see a new epilogue in new editions for me.
Have you gotten any feedback from Giannis or his people on the book?
Not to me directly. I don't know what they think. They certainly have read it. So I don't know.
So maybe then no negative news is good news kind of thing.
I mean, I'm sure it's a completely flattering book, and all my interviews with the family and with Giannis were very positive. And and the book is also, in addition to just a very flattering portrayal, it's a love letter to the city of Milwaukee and the Bucks, and it gets into the real deep historical roots of this organization and all the struggles they've been through. So for sure, I mean, I can't see anyone feeling negative about it. I feel like this book, my hope with it was to dignify the city. And all these years they've been ragged on and mocked and gone through despair. This book really hopes to dignify their stories and how they kept believing in this team and this one-of-a-kind lifetime player that they managed to miraculously get.
It's interesting you say that, because I was listening to an interview with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar after the finals were done. And he mentioned about how happy he was for Giannis and the city. And he talked about the fact that, when he was there, the ownership was different. The team environment was different. He says, but the city has always been a good town. It's always been a good group of people. And for Kareem, he was saying, I'm happy for the city. And I think that's a very interesting correlation, because the guy who wins the first championship since Kareem was there happens to be Giannis, and they both have that appreciation for the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, Kareem is actually a very substantial part of the book, because I charted when he left and the hole that left in the hearts of Wisconsinites. He didn't just leave. A generational player didn't just leave. He said, Milwaukee's too small for me. I need a big city. This is, it was not an amicable move back then. It's really awesome to see Kareem embrace Milwaukee now, but it was really painful when he left. And it created, as I say in the book, this feeling of leaving. The best players always leave. The team is in peril of leaving. Milwaukee almost pulled a Seattle. Like they literally almost left the city of Milwaukee. So it is so wonderful to see not just the fact that Kareem has embraced Milwaukee, but that Giannis, it's almost symbolic. The generational player finally stays, that they've been waiting for since Kareem left. Giannis has almost patched up a 50-year-old wound that is very, very real.
Do you think Giannis staying and winning, how do you think that could impact the rest of the league? Do you think this might, change some people's perceptions of their markets, or change their perceptions of how team building can be done at all?
You know what? I was thinking about this, and at first I thought, wow, this could be a trendsetter. But then I think, no, I think Giannis is just built differently than everyone else. I don't think you're going to find a modern day superstar who would choose to go to a small market team like this. I think Giannis is just his own breed, his own class. And I think there's certainly going to be negative reactions to him saying, I didn't do a super team. It's a little spice. And I think that, there's always been some sort of separation between Giannis and other players in terms of he doesn't work out with them. He doesn't like to do the whole, work out with other famous players and have the social clout that comes off of that. So, I think that Giannis is in a class of his own, and I don't really see people emulating it. In fact, I I can't see why anyone would resent him, but I can see a little resentment in that case.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's resentment or maybe a little jealousy? Because maybe
Jealousy.
players, look at him and they realize, hey, man, I played AAU basketball. I was on the cover of all these newspapers and magazines. I went to, for example, Anthony Davis going to Kentucky or LeBron being crowned the king for ever played in the NBA. Like, is there maybe a part of them that looks at him like, man, this guy literally came from nothing and had to earn every inch that he has gotten, and he got to the mountaintop on his own terms. And maybe guys like, for example, Kevin Durant, maybe look at him and there's a little side eye in their eye.
I mean, I think that there's always been side eyes. I for sure think there's a lot of jealousy. I mean, Harden's comments about Giannis not having skill to me is laughable. And there's always been that narrative that he only gets by on athleticism and not like actual basketball skill. And it's just insane. Do you know how much skill it takes to have the court vision and awareness to know how to time a block perfectly? Timing a block is not just, wow, I have this body and it knows what to do. He's so intelligent, but people don't give him credit for his high basketball IQ, which is even more impressive if you think of the fact that he didn't even really start playing basketball regularly until age 16. So you're talking about somebody with that kind of instincts on the court that only has a decade under their belt. So, I think maybe superstars might side-eye him, but look at Bobby Portis. If I'm a Bobby Portis type of guy, I want to play with Giannis. I'm calling him up. I'm doing whatever I can to get on the court with this guy. Some of my favorite interviews with the book were like the 16th man. Tim Frazier, great interview. He was telling me that he was just trying to make the Bucks team as a 16th man. And Giannis would stay after practice and work with him and say, Tim, what plays do you want to run? Tim is like, you're Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, what do you want to run? You know what I mean? And so I just, that right there says it all. That's the kind of leader I would love to play with a player like that.
And that's the kind of stories I'm looking forward to in this book, Giannis, the Improbable Rise of NBA MVP, because, for the average person, for example, to be selfish for a minute, to me, Giannis represents meritocracy. The fact that you earn something, because for people like myself, we come from nothing. Okay. We didn't have the Catholic school to go to. We didn't have, the scholarships to hand over to. So people like me, we look at Giannis and we're like, this is an example of what can happen, as Giannis said after the press conference. If you want something, you can never let anybody tell you can't do it. And I know for someone like me, I'll admit it, I put a tear in my eye. I was like, yeah, man, you're speaking to me, So like there's something about him that is just reaches across, culture and everything in society because of who he is. And that's what I love about him. I'm so looking forward to reading in this book.
Yeah, and that's why when I hear people say, oh, he's not relatable, he can't be the face of the league because he's international, I'm like, are you kidding? This is the ethos of the American dream. We are a nation of immigrants. We know what it is like to work hard. Giannis represents the best of us, honoring your mother, looking at every day like this could be your best day, even when you have no money in your pocket, nurturing your brothers, trying to cheer them up when you know things are bad, transforming your body, not being intimidated by the fact that you're getting knocked around and you're scrawny your rookie year, and you just transform and work and work and work to get better. That should be something that we all strive to emulate.
So let me ask you this. Giannis is 26 years old. He turns 27 before the end of the year. How much better do you think he can get? Because let's be realistic. Someone with that kind of basketball IQ, with that kind of athleticism, it's not like he's old. It's not like he's like Chris Paul and 36 and he's close to the end of the beginning. No, he's technically not even in his prime yet. So what do you think the future holds for him?
He's going to get so much better. Look at the growth even in the final series. Giannis became a reliable free throw shooter. I don't know why nobody's talking about that. I was joking with my dad. I was like, is he going to win this game off of free throws? Because I think I will absolutely lose my shit if he wins it off of a free throw. You know what I mean? That's just too much. That I can't. If that was how it happened, I would have just died. But yes, look at that alone. He seemed to be even more comfortable with free throws as the series went on. I think at one point he was like 11 for 13 on free throws. So this is a person that can get so much better. I mean, remember in the earlier playoffs, people were like, he doesn't understand his body. He's shooting threes. He needs to go to the basket. And then towards the end of playoffs, he seemed, except for the occasional three, he seemed to really understand his best powers are going downhill and going inside. So look at that growth from 3 weeks time period. Injured. So imagine him full speed next year and in the coming years. Somebody who's really just addicted to playing basketball has to be told to leave the gym. There's so much more for him to accomplish. And I don't know. I just think somebody like him will always come up with something. Even when you think there's nothing left for him to get better at, Giannis will come up with some niche thing like, oh, the way I have to cut needs to be sharper. The way I turn my foot needs to be better coming off a screen. Like, he's that detail oriented. He will always find something to get better at.
Well, to learn more about Giannis, the book is Giannis, The Improbable Rise of an NBA MVP, written by Mirin of The Ringer. It comes out August 10th. You can pre-order it now at Amazon, audiobook, hardback, whatever your style is. For me, I'm an audiobook guy, but I know some people like to sit at the beach, they like to put the book in their hand, sit out there for a few hours. So whatever your flavor is, again, the book is Giannis, The Improbable Rise of an NBA MVP. And we're glad to have had Mirin joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Thank you so much for jumping on the show. I'm so much looking forward to this book, and I wish you so much success with it.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Again, I'm getting it. Again, I'm an audiobook guy, folks, but you know what? It's one of those deals where everyone's got their thing. You know, some people like the hardback, some people like the audiobook. I'm an audiobook guy, so I'm looking forward to this book very, very much to learn more about Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right, we'll get back to you guys next. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. To get on the conversation, we're also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can join the conversation as well. Flyers have made their fourth trade in the last week. Jake Voracek is gone. He is out of town. Cam Atkinson, welcome to Philadelphia. A 1-for-1 deal. No picks involved in this trade, but it looks like the Flyers are going to save about $2.4 million because of the deal. So when are the Phillies going to make a trade? Seriously, when are the Phillies going to make a trade? It's I'm still waiting, folks. Still waiting. So we'll get to you guys' thoughts and comments next here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app for your Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, Flyers, and high school sports coverage. Download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free, thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
South Jersey's sports station, 97.3 ESPN. Wake up weekday morning 6 to 10 with Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. Followed by Greeny with Mike Greenberg from 10 till noon. At noon, it's Bart and Hahn. Then from 2 to 6 p.m., it's South Jersey's #1 rated sports talk show, The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. And from 6 to 7, Josh Hennig hosts Game Night. Plus, 97.3 ESPN is your exclusive play-by-play home for Philadelphia Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers, the NBA playoffs and finals, Major League Baseball, and the World Series, the NFL Draft, Monday, Thursday, and Sunday Night Football, the NFL playoffs, and Super Bowl 56. We are South Jersey's sports leader. 97.3 ESPN. And listen anywhere with the free mobile app.
On some models excludes Corvette with GM financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
By now, most people know that nobody beats a Bennett Chevrolet deal. Because when you buy a new Chevy from Bennett, you pay the same as any GM supplier employee pays. That's right, not 1 cent more. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates that can add up to 25% off MSRP. That's up to 25% off. And of course, Bennett Chevy has 0% financing available. Think about all the ways you save at Bennett Chevrolet. Plus, right now, we want your trade. So we're paying a minimum $7,000 for any clunker. You heard right, a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Nobody pays more than Bennett. You can imagine how much more we'll pay for a good trade. And there's more. You'll never feel any sales pressure and never waste time with stressful negotiating because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Nobody beats Bennett Chevrolet, and we mean nobody. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Hey, sports bettors, it's Mike Gill, and I wanted to share with you how I've been cashing in on the PropSwap Sports Bets resale app. On average, sellers on PropSwap have been making $500 a month. It's easy. Just post all your betting tickets for sale on PropSwap and let them find you a buyer. Listing your ticket is always free, and if it sells, great. But if not, the bet is still yours to keep. If you're not selling sports bets on PropSwap, you're missing out on incredible side hustle. Start making extra money today by downloading the PropSwap app and selling your sports bets.
Hey, with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch shows live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, hooking new users up with an epic Olympic bonus. Just place your first bet of at least $10 on any Olympic sport and get a $100 bonus. Or you can bet at least $20 and you'll get a $200 bonus. That's a bonus up to $200 regardless of the outcome of the bet. You'll get the bonus on any Olympic event: baseball, soccer, track and field, gymnastics, basketball, and more. And when you place your first bet of $10 or more between July 19th and July 27th, promotions like this are just one of the reasons why I love betting with FanDuel Sportsbook. Their app is simple to use with unique and fun bet types, such as same-game parlays and exclusive always-on promotions, so you get more action out of every game day. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up with my promo code Hennig to go for the gold today. That's promo code Hennig to bet the Olympics with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, play and present in New Jersey. First online real money wager only. Minimum bet $10. Maximum bonus $200. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's get some of you guys out there. Text board is open as always, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973 for all of you listening on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, or if you're watching on the stream, you can comment on the stream. Just like Steven Garrison is doing about the Phillies. Steve, who typically chimes in the show, says, hey, Josh, there's a lot of speculation that Philly will trade Bryant because they pulled Stott out of the lineup last night. I really hope not. I'm not trading Stott for a rental. Here's the thing, Steven. I personally would like to have Chris Bryant. But the problem is what you just said. The problem isn't Bryant. The problem is that he's a free agent. So giving up Stott for Bryant is not the problem. The problem is that Bryant is going to be a free agent. And anytime that you give up a high-level prospect for a guy that may not even be on your team next year, who is probably going to demand a lot of money in free agency, you're better off not trading for him and then potentially pursuing him in free agency. So it doesn't help you now, but it could help you next year. So that's a crossing point. How does the team improve to win this year while also saving for the future? And theoretically, if Bryson Stott is as good and as much potential as they say he does, then I can't trade him for a guy who's going to be a free agent in a few months. Listen, I said it yesterday. There's a part of me that looks at Alec Boehm and says, should we just trade him for Chris Bryant? But according to a lot of the experts who know more baseball than I do, they say that you got to give Alec Boehm a chance to develop. You got to give him a chance to go out there and do more. So I think that this team just has to be patient with some of these players. 609-403-0973. And again, I admit it, I'm impatient. I am so impatient with this team. I have a Flyers team that's made 4 trades in 7 days. And that's more trades than the Phillies have made in the last 7 months. All right? It's just incredible. 609-403-0973. Dan EHC says the Phillies are weird, but it's reality. They are inconsistent up and down the roster. We've seen probably 40 players this year total because of call-ups. And entirely, I've seen one guy consistent. That's Wheeler. Yeah, man. First of all, Wheeler would be a Cy Young candidate if it wasn't for Jacob deGrom's here this year. He's been amazing. But you're right. The inconsistency, it's reality, but it's still maddening. It still drives me nuts. Because you have a game last night where Segura has that crazy hit where he hits the ball almost off the ground to get a single into the outfield. Well, actually, I think it's turned into a double. But anyway, you get that kind of hit, and you're like, wow, look at what he just did. You have a situation where Bryce Harper goes out there and steals second, third, and home, right? You have all these scenarios where they found a way to win last night. Where was it the last 3 days? The Yankees series was embarrassing. Okay? I've said it all week here on 97.3 ESPN. The Yankees' 2 losses was an embarrassment. Where was this team those nights? Finding ways to score, stealing bases, hitting for contact. Where was it the last 3 days? It's like they had to go on a 3-game losing streak to realize, oh man, we should probably play baseball. Just bonkers. It's frustrating. Also on the stream, Paul over on Facebook talking about the Voracek deal. Yeah, for those who don't know, it happened about maybe, I want to say roughly became official about 30, 40 minutes ago. Jacob Voracek traded to Columbus, the team that originally drafted him, for Cam Atkinson. Is a 1-for-1 deal. According to reports, this is a deal that could theoretically save the Flyers about $2.5 million. Okay. So if they can save that kind of money, then this is more than just a win because you're moving on from Voracek. It's a win because you found a way to save some more money. And I think that's a huge part of all of this. So, and according to Atkinson, who's speaking with the media right now, he's saying that apparently, according to what the Flyers have told him, a big part of them acquiring him is they want him to help them improve the power play. Well, I mean, this is a guy who can score on the power play. We've seen him do it. He's already, by the way, the picture of Cam Atkinson out there is wearing a gritty shirt right now. So he's already in full Flyers mode, full Philly mode. Kind of like that. Guy knows how to impress the media, impress the fans. Here it is. So, according to Frank Saravelli, he says the Flyers do not retain any salary in the Voracek-Atkinson deal. So that's why this would save the Flyers $2.4 million. So instead of the Flyers taking responsibility for any part of the remainder of Voracek's contract, this is a straight contract for contract situation. That's a big deal. Okay. So again, Voracek going to Columbus for Cam Atkinson. Cam Atkinson, for those who are wondering, is under contract for another 3 years at $5.8 million. So, what are the Phillies going to trade? Just saying, Dombrowski, looking at you. Chuck Fletcher's making you look like a slowpoke. Did I just say slowpoke? All right, second hour coming up. Andy McNamara from Sportsnet will join us at 1:20, 973.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Comfort Keepers, all the comforts of home.
It's time to get your grill on. What's summer without a cookout? If you're hosting a get-together, you want to make sure you do it right. Here are some tips from the grill company Weber. Preheat the grill with the lid closed for 10 to 15 minutes. It loosens any bits of food on the grate and makes for more even cooking. Keep the grill clean to keep food from sticking. It's easiest to clean with a stainless steel brush while it's still hot. Put oil on the food, not the grate. Keep the lid down while cooking to sear the food, speed cooking time, and prevent flare-ups. If you're using a charcoal grill, skip the lighter fluid. Who wants foul-smelling chemicals under their food? Chimney starters and lighter cubes are
Town Square Media Station, serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles. WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Second hour of the show, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can join the conversation. If you're watching on the stream, you can join the conversation just like Paul and Steven and others have on the stream. Also, the text board is open at 609-403-0973. So the breaking news that happened about an hour ago, Jake Voracek is the fourth trade. He is traded to Columbus from Philadelphia. He is going to be rejoining the Columbus Blue Jackets. Cam Atkinson will be coming in return for the team. So the Flyers have now made 4 trades in 7 days, and the Phillies have made 4 trades in 7 months. Just a little context for you. I don't even think the Sixers have made 4 trades in the last 7 months. I don't think the Sixers and the Phillies combined have made 4 trades in the last 7 months. Chuck Fletcher. I mean, Billy Schweim called him Trader Chuck earlier today. Maybe that is a good moniker at this point. By the way, this is now the 3rd player that the Flyers have brought in who was an alternate captain with their team. So Atkinson was the alternate captain in Columbus. Ristolainen was the alternate captain in Buffalo. And Ryan Ellis was the alternate captain down in Nashville. So you're not just bringing in good players, you're bringing in some serious leadership here, which is also going to help this team. Now, I was telling you guys before we hit the break that this is going to save the Flyers money. So Cam Atkinson, even though he is signed through 2025, so he's under contract 4 more years, which is a year longer than Voracek is signed for. But the salary cap hit is less. So Cam Atkinson is going to make $5.875 million over the next 4 seasons. Voracek was going to cost you $8.25 million over the next 3 seasons. So you're getting a player, same age, whose skill set is more of a necessity for the Flyers at this point, and whose contract per year is going to save you at least $2.5 million, if not more. Now, of course, that partially depends on, other clauses in the contract, but you're saving at least $2.5 million. All right. Voracek's base salary this upcoming year was going to be $7.5 million. The base salary for Cam Atkinson is $5.275. So now it's another trade that the Flyers have found a way to save money. I love it. I'm on board. So now this is 3 out of 4 trades you got to like. And for those of you who looked at the Ristolainen trade and said this was a poor trade, you should have traded the 13th overall pick, you gave up too much to get him, I think Fletcher justifies himself on the back end, because I've been asking for months. Can the Flyers make a trade where the Flyers give up their bad contract for somebody else's bad contract? And Columbus obviously wanted to not have Cam Atkinson anymore in the post-John Tortorella era for whatever reason. So they called, they got the deal done. So again, Cam Atkinson coming to Philadelphia, wearing a gritty shirt, for Jake Voracek, who, listen, Voracek, again, as I said earlier, he was a good but not great player. And that was always my problem with Voracek, okay? My problem with him was always that for a guy who signed an 8-year contract worth $66 million, okay? A guy who's getting paid $7.5 million this upcoming year has a salary cap hit of $8.25 for the next 3 years. All right. A guy who's getting paid like that, he can't be scoring 12 goals, 20 goals, 20 goals, 20 goals, 11 goals, 22, 23, 22, 18. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to have a guy with that kind of contract who is not a more productive goal scorer. You can't have it. Meanwhile, Cam Atkinson, all right? Let's talk about Cam Atkinson for a minute. Cam Atkinson is a guy who can score the puck, and he's going to cost you less money. Now, if you exclude the last 2 seasons, 1 year being, of course, last 2 years being affected by COVID, let's go for the years before that, like I did with Voracek, all right? So we're talking about with Voracek, the years before the last 2, like I did. I told you. Everything was either 20, 22, 23, or less. By comparison, here's what Cam Atkinson did in the same period. 41 goals, 24 goals, 35, 27, 22, 21. So you're going from a guy who is not really a scorer to a guy who actually is a scorer. I'm on board with the deal. Now, if the Phillies could just make a trade, that'd be nice. Speaking of the Phillies, Steve Garrison followed up on YouTube watching the show, says, with the Phillies, would you trade Spencer Howard and others for Kimbrel or Hendricks or Davies? Or Davies. Sorry, Davies. First of all, yes, I would trade Spencer Howard. I was having a debate with a buddy of mine. I want to say it was late last week, and I was saying, look, I'm out on the Spencer Howard situation. At this age, he's either not ready for the major leagues or he needs to be gone. All right? You can't be his age and tell me that he's going to help your team at this point. All right? Spencer Howard, for those who don't know, is 24 years old. So it's not like he's some 20-year-old kid. He was a second-round draft pick out of college. So he has college under his belt, Major League Baseball under his belt. He's been in the minors for 4 seasons. Then you also have the 2 years he was in college. And the best he can do is a 5 ERA. I'm out on Spencer Howard. I am. Put him in any deal that gets you better. I'm good with it. And by the way, those of you who know me know that I'm really big on the strikeout to inning ratio. Last year, he had 23 strikeouts, 24 in the third innings. This year, he has 29 strikeouts, 24 in 2 third innings. So he's slightly better than last year in that category. His ERA is a 5.11 this year. It was 5.92 last year. Big whoop. Not impressed. I think there is something in Spencer Howard that he could be better. Okay. I'm not saying that he's a bad pitcher. I'm just saying that I'm not willing to wait on him anymore. I think you either need to leave him in the minor leagues until further notice or trade him. Now, the problem with trading for Kimbrel is that there's going to be a lot of teams in on the Kimbrel sweepstakes. And I don't know if the Phillies can offer the best deal for Kimbrel. All right. Let me check Kimbrel's contract real quick because I mentioned that, Chris Bryant is a rental. Now, what's Kimbrel's contract here? Let's see. So Kimbrel has 1 year left on his deal. It's a team option of $16 million with a $1 million buyout. So in theory, you could keep him next year, but he's 33 years old. He's been inconsistent. He's pitched amazing this year. but the 2 years before that was rough. And before he got to Boston, he was one of the best closers in baseball. And then his first couple of years in Boston, he was up and down. The year they won the World Series, he almost lost his closer role altogether. Then he had the bloated ERA in Chicago a couple of years. And now this year he's played amazing. Pitched amazing. So I look at him and I say, he's a really good pitcher, but I don't know if I'm willing to give up that much to get him. So that's my only concern with Kimbrel. I don't know how cheap he's going to come. That's my concern. That my only concern is I don't know if you're going to have what it takes. Now, you mentioned Hendricks. Kyle Hendricks is, I guess he's the ace of the Cubs at this point. Kyle Hendricks is, I consider, not a guy I would go after. As I mentioned, the strikeout to inning ratio is completely lopsided. 87 strikeouts in 117 innings. He has given up 20 home runs this year. 3.6 ERA. He does eat some innings up here and there, but I don't know if that's the guy I would go for on the Cubs. And Davies, same deal. They're both ground balls, slow ball throwers. If they don't get the ground balls, they don't get the handful of flyouts, they're giving up runs. Okay? And Davies has a higher ERA than Hendricks. I don't think that any starting pitcher on the Cubs is really that appealing at this point. And part of the Cubs' problem this year has been their pitching altogether. So I don't know, outside of Kimbrel, there's anybody on the Cubs I would specifically be pursuing. Outside of, you want to check in on Rex Brothers, I guess. Brothers is a lefty. He gets a lot of strikeouts. This year he has 58 strikeouts in 36 innings. He's got a 4 ERA, but he gets a lot of strikeouts. So, I don't know, maybe he's another version of Alvarado at this point. So, like I said, I'm not in love with the idea of anybody on the Cubs pitching wise aside from Kimbrel. Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. By the way, hello to Jeff, Bone, and Pookie. How are you doing today, sir? Hope you're having a good weekend. I've been busy. I could use some more sleep tonight. I'll get more sleep tonight, actually, so that's a good thing. I was joking with Billy Schwein earlier. I said, hopefully I'll be awake tomorrow, because Sunday's usually my day off. So I'm coming in, covering for Pete Thompson in the locker room with Billy Schwein tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. And yes, I know that the rumor out there is that, what's his name? There it is. Merrill Kelly is a guy that the Phillies are among the teams interested in him. My only problem with Kelly is that I'm not sure is the last few starts that he's gone 4-0 with that 2.6 ERA. Is that who he is? Or is the starts before that who he is? Is this just a run of him pitching well at the right time? Or is he really that good of a pitcher? I think he would help the Phillies a little bit for sure, but is he really that? Like, if you had to ask me, Merrill Kelly or Kyle Hendricks, I would lean toward Hendricks actually instead of Kelly. So in the hierarchy, I would say Hendricks, Davies, Kelly is how I would take those three. Because to me, I'm worried that Kelly's an anomaly. I'm concerned that Kelly is just one of these guys who is pitching good at this moment in time and not good overall. And of course, John Heyman, for those who don't know, is reporting that the Phillies are interested in Craig Kimbrel. They are in on is the verbiage that Heyman has used. And listen, it makes a lot of sense. Dombrowski, he acquired Kimbrel when he was in Boston. Kimbrel's a guy that when he's on, he's one of the best closers in baseball. So if the Phillies want to go down that road, I'm all for it. The other players, not so much. All right, keep the messages coming. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Steven, James, we'll get to you guys a little bit later in the show this hour. But coming up next, we'll jump into the NFL. My buddy Andy McNamara joins us to talk some NFL. Training camp is just days away. And from Sportsnet, Andy McNamara will join us coming up next right here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
South Jersey's sports station, 97.3 ESPN. Wake up weekday mornings 6 to 10 with Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. Followed by Greeny with Mike Greenberg from 10 till noon. At noon, it's Bard and Hahn. Then from 2 to 6 p.m., it's South Jersey's #1 rated sports talk show, The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. And from 6 to 7, night. Plus, 97.3 ESPN is your exclusive play-by-play home for Philadelphia Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers, the NBA playoffs and finals, Major League Baseball, and the World Series, the NFL Draft, Monday, Thursday, and Sunday Night Football, the NFL playoffs, and Super Bowl 56. We are South Jersey's sports leader. 97.3 ESPN. And listen anywhere with the free mobile app.
On some models, excludes Corvette with GM financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
By now, most people know that nobody beats a Bennett Chevrolet deal. Because when you buy a new Chevy from Bennett, you pay the same as any GM supplier employee pays. That's right, not 1 cent more. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates that can add up to 25% off MSRP. That's up to 25% off. And of course, Bennett Chevy has 0% financing available. Think about all the ways you save at Bennett Chevrolet. Plus, right now, we want your trade. So we're paying a minimum $7,000 for any clunker. You heard right, a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Nobody pays more than Bennett. You can imagine how much more we'll pay for a good trade. And there's more. You'll never feel any sales pressure and never waste time with stressful negotiating because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Nobody beats Bennett Chevrolet, and we mean nobody. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy at Hubbard Township and BennettChevy.com.
Weather is here. If you're in the market for a new heating and cooling system, Jenkins & Sons Plumbing and Heating has an affordable and efficient solution that even gives you room-to-room control. Trust the experts at Jenkins to take care of your ductless heating and cooling system for Mitsubishi. A super advanced and energy-efficient Mitsubishi ductless system will keep you comfortable even in the most difficult rooms. And remember, with efficient room-by-room controls, you only pay for comfort in the rooms you're actually using. Call Jenkins today and ask about manufacturer and utility rebates up to $2,400 to make your new system even more affordable. Jenkins offers their full range of repairs and services so your comfort is never compromised, especially during extreme weather. Call the company and local Mitsubishi Diamond dealer you can count on. Jenkins & Sons Plumbing and Heating, online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Jenkins Plumbing and Heating, we're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating, we're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating, we're always here for you.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And, of course, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll get back to the Phillies and Flyers talk in just a bit, but we're taking a time out from that because the NFL season, we're counting down, folks. We're less than 50 days from the start of the NFL season. It's exciting. I can't wait. I feel like I have this void in my life right now because I just started flipping the channels here in the studio. I have the basketball tournament, I have archery, and I have I guess it's equestrian at the Olympics. There's not even a baseball game on right now. This is ridiculous. So we need football. All right. I need football back in my life. So talk more about it is my man, buddy of mine. You hear him throughout the football season on game night on 97.3 ESPN. It's Andy McNamara from Sportsnet. Andy, how you doing today, my friend?
Oh, Josh, I'm right with you there, man. I'm feeling great. I feel it's like the old Family Guy episode where they had John Madden on and he just waved his hands and just yelled, football! That's what I need. I'm with you. I'm going through channels. Yeah, I'm like, okay, the Olympics to a point is fine, but it's not like the NFL, and we're getting so close.
I know, we're right there. Obviously, we know that the Cowboys and the Steelers have already reported. I believe it's Tampa, if the other team is reporting this weekend.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the teams that start a little earlier, they get a little head start, and then everybody else reports this Tuesday. So, speaking of the Cowboys, this is where I got to start with you. So, all the universe is telling us that the experts are stupid right now because the Cowboys are being picked by everyone and their cousin to win the division and maybe go to the NFC Championship. But here's the reality, Andy. There's never been a team on Hard Knocks that has been to the Super Bowl. Only one of them has gone to a championship game, and that was the Rex Ryan Jets. All right. Now, the last 10 times in Vegas, I stole this from Doug Kazarian of ESPN, by the way. The last 10 times that Vegas has made the Cowboys the divisional favorite, they won the division once. Once. So the universe is telling us that the Cowboys are not as good as we think they are, to steal from Denny Green. So then why are people on the Cowboys bandwagon, Andy?
Well, I think on paper, Josh, they should be. But to your point with those numbers, listen, Vegas knows. I don't know how they know, but they know, right? And so even if it's against all those stats, when they pick them, they're not something that pattern makes sense to me. And really, it depends on Dak Prescott. I think that's what it comes down to because we know the defense got a little bit better, still not great. You need Dak Prescott to be going like he was before that injury. If he's not, it's over. It's done. We saw what happened last year. Now you got Amari Cooper, also a bit of an ankle issue, right? Can Ezekiel Elliott? We're all projecting him to get back to where he was. Will he? That's a question mark. I'll say this. If it's not the Cowboys, I got the Eagles as the number 2. I know it's not a strong division, but I got the Eagles right there as a team poised, ready. And I think if you give Jalen Hurts a long enough leash and are coaching him up like he needs to be, that guy, we've been bullish. We've been talking about him since the draft last year. I think he could be the one that could help the Eagles over that hump and maybe overtake the Cowboys for the division.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, in our area, there's 2 contingent of fans out here. All right. There's the contingent of fans who look at the Eagles and say, last year had a lot of injuries impacted the team. That's how we're looking at it. Right.
Yeah.
Then you have another contingent of fans who look around and they're like, Jalen Hurts had a poor completion percentage. This team only won 4 games last year. New head coach. I don't know. And I keep telling people, you realize that Carson Wentz by himself lost 3 games for this team last year. Alone.
Yes, alone.
You win 3 more games, you might have won the division last year. And you had the most offensive line combinations in all of football last year. The offensive line was completely decimated to injury. If you're just a little healthier this year and your quarterback isn't the worst quarterback in the NFL, yes, you can win 7-8 games this year.
Yes, absolutely. And for people who just say Jalen Hurts the completion percentage, those are stats watchers, Josh, right? Those are box score people. Oh, look at the box score. Did you watch the game? Because what I saw was a guy who could will things to happen, who was thrown in, by the way, without a full training camp at all, even as a backup because of COVID, who came in and was trying to find his way and made plays. The guy made plays. Did he make enough? No. Do I think he can? Yes. I believe Jalen Hurts is criminally underrated for his arm. But he's going to run around. He will, but that guy is going to figure it out as long as he's being coached up, and I think he is going to be that guy for the Eagles. I think the weapons around him are going to be good enough. I'm interested to see what Travis Fulgham can do in a full season and in a premier role where he was not counted on in that spot last year. What is Devonta Smith, the speedster, doing? Jalen Reagor out of the slot. I still like Greg Ward as a possession guy. And we got the 2 stud tight ends as well. So there's lots of pieces there. Plus, Miles Sanders, and I like that Kenneth Gainwell in the back. I know he's got some leapfrogging to do on the depth chart, but I like Gainwell for the long term. So I think there are enough pieces there, as long as you can see steady progression from Hurts, which I think we will, for the Eagles to make a go of this division. I don't think, with how weak overall and how many question marks this division is, that's too far-fetched.
Yeah, and you know what else? The other thing is people forget about, Hurts, is that he was among the best in college football at Oklahoma in completion percentage and quarterback rating. That's nothing to be sneezed at, okay?
No, not at all. And a good program against good teams.
Right. And the other thing is that when you look at the Eagles, there's no way, because of Sirianni's background, he's going to ask Hurts to throw the ball 45, 50 times a game.
Right.
They're going to use the running game. And in fact, I think that Miles Sanders could have a career year this year, because you think about it, last year, the Eagles didn't use him properly. There were so many situations where Carson Wentz didn't even look at him. He'd be wide open in the flat. Wentz is just staring left like the idiot that he was last year. And Miles Sanders' hand up the air like, I'm open. So Sirianni is a guy who comes from offenses that use running backs, that use receivers in a multitude of ways. So I'm assuming that the burden of proof will not be on the quarterback in this offense, that the burden will be on the play caller more so.
I think it's a terrific point. And if you do, listen, we've seen it before. It can be done, as quarterbacks can learn their way if they have that athleticism. And I do hope, again, that Jalen Hurts, not that he's going to throw it 50 times a game, but that they do start giving him more on his plate, because I'm a believer this guy can be a quality NFL passer. But with the running game, I'm with you, because he's got the speed to roll out. So that really works in the play action with Sanders. I'm interested to see, just from the fantasy football guy in me is thinking, all right, what is Kerryon Johnson and Kenneth Gainwell going to mean to that Miles Sanders workload? From a real life perspective, I think you got a lot of options there. And also, what's the best friend to a young quarterback? Get the ball out of your hand quick. Those quick slot guys. Well, Jalen Reagor, if healthy, and Devonta Smith can do that. Smith can also stretch the field, as we know. And you got that chain mover, big body dude in Fulgham. Oh, yeah, and the 2 tight ends as well that are pretty damn good when they're healthy. So you have the pieces. You have the options to get the ball out of Hurts' hand quick, to utilize the running game. It's there. It's right there for the Eagles. It depends on how Hurts can progress. And again, I feel he can do it. Like, give me more shares of Jalen Hurts.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN Sportsnet, national fantasy sports host, NFL analyst joining us here. You hear him throughout the year on game night here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, the team we haven't mentioned, though, by the way, is the team that won the division last year. And I am fascinated by the Fitzpatrick situation in Washington, because which Fitzpatrick do we get? Do we get the Fitzpatrick who saved most of the Dolphins' season last year? Or do we get the Fitzpatrick who was in Tampa and in New York, who played good for certain games and completely fell apart for other games?
Yeah. I think we see both. Honestly, Josh, that seems to be the trend. We see both out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. You see a hot start, you see some hiccups along the way, and then usually somebody else takes over. The thing with Washington is they don't really have that guy who is poised to take over. They don't have the Tua who is going to be groomed in the background. Right. They don't have, I thought Taylor Heineke was fun for a little bit last year. Am I anticipating him as Washington's new franchise quarterback? No. Kyle Allen? No. Steven Montez? No. So Fitzpatrick has, for the first time in a while, I feel, nobody really behind him that he has to worry about. So what does that mean for an Antonio Gibson, really flashed last year. And remember in college, limited reps, but was a receiver and was groomed into that running back role. Terry McLaurin's back again, Scary Terry, right? You add Curtis Samuel as a bit of, I think, a cool gadget piece, because we can line him up just about anyway, reunited with his Buckeyes teammate in McLaurin. Adam Humphries out of the slot as well. And Logan Thomas, who really surged, I believe, in fantasy last year. He finished 4th overall amongst tight ends behind Robert Tonyan. So how does that usage go? How do you use somebody else? Let's not forget about J.D. McKissick, who was the dink and dunk favorite of Alex Smith. I think it means we're going to see a stretched out field, because last year with Alex Smith and the combo of players, let's be honest, defenders could crowd the line of scrimmage. They weren't chucking it down. Fitzy can, and he's not afraid to do it, right? So if we have that situation, which may back people off the line a little bit, I'm really bullish on Antonio Gibson. And remember, Ron Rivera last year, when he came in as a rookie, he called Gibson with about, 70 snaps or something. It was something ridiculously low. Rivera called him a, quote, Christian McCaffrey type of weapon. We saw that at times last year. I wonder in year 2 if we really see Gibson take that next step. And if he does, that guy's a freak.
Well, also considering that, I mean, think about this. You're going to have 3 running backs from Memphis all in the NFL this year. You got Henderson out in Los Angeles.
Yep.
He's probably going to be the number 1 back. Gibson is a fantasy football basically must-have at this point. And then you have Gainwell in Philadelphia, who, according to the Memphis coaches, they say Gainwell is better than both Gibson and Henderson, actually. So there's a point where we may be seeing 3 Memphis running backs, Memphis of all teams, being like top producers in the league in the next few years.
Well, usually we're used to Georgia, right? That line,
Right.
that lineage of Georgia Bulldogs just trotting out in the NFL. So, yeah, kind of strange it's Memphis. I just think out of that group, the physical traits of Antonio Gibson are just above and beyond everything, because especially on the fantasy side in PPR, if he gets a lot of touches. And I think that versatility is going to allow him to still be a favorite of Fitzpatrick, who isn't going to, again, sort of drop it down all that much. He can, and that's a playmaker right there. So how does he get worked in? I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see Gibson sort of flank out a little bit in some receiver type of roles too, and a little bit of some gimmick offense to try to freshen things up, because Fitz is not afraid to throw it, like we said, right? So how does that translate over a full year? That remains to be seen division-wise and real-life-wise, but fantasy-wise, Fitzpatrick at quarterback gives everybody on that offense, every receiver, an uptick.
Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN at AndyMC81 on Twitter. All right, let's see a couple other teams around the league here. We'll pop out of the NFC East for a bit here. First of all, let's be realistic. We don't know what's happening in the NFC North right now, because the Aaron Rodgers situation is basically put the whole division on limbo.
Yeah.
But the one thing we do know for sure is that as of right now in the NFC North, Andy Dalton is supposed to start the season. And we don't know when Justin Fields is playing. So as far as I'm concerned, you almost want to maybe just, kick the tire down the road on the Bears this year, because to me, you drafted Justin Fields. That was Ryan Pace's and Matt Nagy's way of saying, we don't need to lose our jobs this year. We got a rookie quarterback. I just feel like they're going to put him in there at some point. They're going to use it as an excuse, and the Bears are going to go like 7-10 this year.
Right. Like, I'm with you. It's tough to project because of how long Andy Dalton can go. And let's not forget, now Andy Dalton last year in Dallas, he got COVID bad. He got a nasty concussion and never really got into any sort of a groove. And we've seen Andy Dalton with the Cincinnati Bengals for years be a guy who's good enough. Like, the scary thing is, Josh, Andy Dalton is going to be the best quarterback Allen Robinson's had in his career. In his career. And the dude is a top 12 wide receiver, and he's done that with garbage quarterback play. So Andy Dalton can be a nice stabilizer, higher floor type of quarterback. Get people comfortable. Get people composed and functional. And especially if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, boy, that division's wide open. That's going to be just the Wild West out there. But when does Justin Fields come in? And when he does, and I love Justin Fields, that's a guy with again, who I think gets categorized sometimes too much as a runner. That guy's got a cannon of an arm. He's going to have to learn how to read pro defenses, right? Like a lot of college quarterbacks, it was look to the sideline, you get the card, the cue, whatever, and then you go. So he's going to have to develop. But the physical traits, the athleticism of Justin Fields makes him an absolute stud. The question is going to be when he gets in, not if, but when, how deep is that learning curve? How steep is that for him? And who benefits? Because especially if he's not going to start the season, you see it all the time for quarterbacks that come in, they end up targeting players that they practice more with, which is not the starters. So is it somebody like maybe a Marquise Goodwin who is able to benefit? Maybe a Riley Ridley, somebody that Fields is going to be practicing more with than that starter group. So that's going to be very interesting in Chicago, as well as with David Montgomery. I know people got all hot and heavy over him the last half of the year, but that was a bad schedule. Tariq Cohen got injured. You also bring in Damian Williams, who's a better pass catcher. If people are drafting in fantasy for running back, I would pump the brakes on Montgomery, because before that Cohen injury, and not including Williams who came in, Montgomery was doing horribly. So just a bit of advice. Just, I'm not saying avoid him, but don't be considering him some sort of bell cow.
Yeah, and just to drive the point home, what you just said about Allen Robinson, the quarterbacks who have been throwing him the ball in his career are Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, and Chase Daniel, just to give folks an idea of the wonderful group of quarterbacks who have been chucking him a football in his career.
Yeah. And you know what? Like Nick Foles, what? Next life, can we all pray to be Nick Foles? Like, wow. The guy will be a god forever in Philadelphia, right? He's only good with the Eagles. He gets paid a ton of money. No, he's third in the depth chart collecting cash. Like,
right.
Good. Nick Foles, bravo. Like, well done. Who knows if he ever sees another start again in his career, but who cares with Nick Foles? But yeah, like Allen Robinson. And if we're looking at the rest of that receiver group real quick, Darnell Mooney, maybe a flyer on him. Anthony Miller's never been able to prove it. And tight end is a wash right now until Jimmy Graham gets kicked out of town, because Cole Kmet's the talent, but Jimmy Graham steals so many looks, which is super frustrating for fantasy owners. So it's going to really be interesting to track. I think the only guy I want for sure as a starter on my fantasy team from the Bears is Allen Robinson, and everybody else has questions.
Let's head to the NFC West. So I'll leave it open-ended. What's the best offense in the NFC West?
Oh, boy. Well, you look at that whole division, and we think, okay, how is it going to play out? Is it with Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford and the Rams, right? Jimmy Garoppolo returning, and, of course, Russell Wilson. So if we look at the best offense, I'm probably going to have to give a slight edge to the Cardinals. Now, that's if DeAndre Hopkins plays. We know all the comments that are going around.
He did delete the tweet. He did delete the tweet.
He did delete the tweet. As long as he didn't delete himself from the NFL, then we're fine. I think there's a ton of upside there with the Cardinals. The Rams are super interesting to me, though. And that's because with Matthew Stafford, if the injuries can stay away, and we know he's durable, and the what if injuries is a big what if. But with Cam Akers gone now, and it going probably Darrell Henderson as the main guy, but maybe it's a bit more of a committee. Maybe they bring in another veteran running back to muddy those waters up. But I think the receiving core and Higbee really benefit from Matthew Stafford, because now teams have to respect the arm. Jared Goff, you could pinch, right? Like fumble issues, the hands, you could pinch. You can't. Matthew Stafford's going to burn you all day long. You give him if you want to try that game. So I believe we look at Robert Woods. I put Robert Woods above Cooper Kupp because Stafford's not a dink and dunk guy. Then Kupp underneath him. I think Higbee's going to have a really big year too.
All right, one more for you. Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joining us here on 97.3 ESPN FM. You can follow him at AndyMC81 on Twitter. Jumping to the AFC. I'm purposely staying away from your NFC, your AFC North on purpose.
Smart.
So I'm going to go to a completely different division here. I'm going to go to the East.
Okay.
Removing Josh Allen from the conversation, who's the most reliable quarterback in the AFC East?
That's a tremendous question, Josh. Wow. Most reliable. Well, we can't say Tua. Hasn't done it.
He's injured.
We can't say Zach Wilson. He's a rookie.
Right.
Certainly can't say Cam Newton. And then Mac Jones. Did you know Mac Mac is for McCorkle? That's amazing.
Yeah, who is a kid McCorkle, by the way?
I don't know how to incorporate that name more into my life, but I need to. It's just hilarious. I love it. So McCorkle Jones, Mr. McCorkle, I think he might be out of the rest of that group, the highest floor, lower ceiling, most NFL ready. And if I'm the Patriots, I don't know why the heck you just don't go to him, because the offenses are so different between Newton and Jones. So I'm not sure what direction they're going to go. I would just go with Jones, throw him in and see what happens. So if I'm looking at reliable, gosh, I think the answer has to be like, can the answer be none, Josh? Like there's no reliability. Sure. I can't like if I'm looking real life or fantasy, I honestly don't want any of them. I don't want any of them.
I mean, listen, I'm well known for not being a Tua guy. I think that there's something just not adding up with him there. I feel like that the body's going to keep falling apart. And, you know, he said Zach Wilson's a rookie. The only thing about Cam Newton is after he had COVID, he struggled a lot last year.
Yeah.
So I have to wonder, Cam Newton's second year with Josh McDaniels, could he be a lot better than he was last year as a possibility?
It's a possibility, but boy, and I know some of those the tape that leaked out was just, you know, it's a few practices, but good Lord, what was he doing? And we still have to think this time, major shoulder injury, major ankle. All right, if he's feeling 100% now, well, how long is he going to feel 100%? You're still going to have to run him. He's still going to have to run, and he's still going to have to take hits. So what does that mean, right? I just can't trust him. I think maybe the quarterback in the best position, not being a rookie, is Tua, because they added Waddle around him, little comfort zone. You got Gesicki, you got Parker, bring in Fuller. Like there's pieces there for him. Zach Wilson, not a lot of exciting options around him, but maybe that Shanahan style offense with the coaching staff coming over from San Francisco, maybe that's enough to help guide him through. But I don't think we can confidently say that I could trust Zach Wilson for consistency right away. So maybe it is Tua. Oh, I just don't want any of them. I don't want any of them on my fantasy team. I'll tell you that. I don't want any of those quarterbacks.
There you go. Andy McNamara. Follow him on Twitter at AndyMC81. You'll hear from him, obviously, throughout the NFL season right here on 97.3 ESPN. Typically on game night, but he was kind of to join us on a Saturday to get a little football fix in for all of us, because, and let's be realistic, when the equestrian horses are running around and archery is on TV, I'm having trouble with the Olympics, man.
You're not putting some dough down on the hot equestrian action?
No. I'll even know anything about equestrian except for the horses are involved.
The horses are involved. Yeah, whatever name. Just like the horse, pick which name you like. I don't know. I'm not touching that one.
I'm not either. Andy, I appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, my friend.
Oh, you too, brother. Talk to you soon.
Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN. We'll hear from you guys coming up on the other side, 609-403-0973. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Jump on the stream. Get to your guys' thoughts and comments next. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Sports Bash Saturday.
This weekend on Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio, the Chicago White Sox sit high atop the AL Central, while the Milwaukee Brewers in first in the NL Central. And the two go head-to-head this weekend in Milwaukee.
Well struck left center field, way back and gone. Jose Abreu will touch them all.
The Brewers and White Sox. Coverage begins today at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
New Jersey, this is not a test. If you're looking for a deal on a new vehicle, get to Matt Blatt Nissan and get $2,500 off on every new 2021 Nissan Murano SUV in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Yes, get $2,500 off every new 2021 Nissan Murano in stock. Drive it today with 0 down and pay 0 interest for 60 months. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan will buy your current vehicle for cash or trade it for top dollar. What do you get? $2,500 off. 0 money money down, 0% interest on every 2021 Nissan Murano in stock. And don't forget our fast track checkout. So bring any vehicle, and Matt Blatt Nissan will buy it for cash or pay top dollar for any trade in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot or online at mattblattnissan.com. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on 1667 per thousand borrowed. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/21. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Are you a Phillies sports fanatic? You love to travel and cheer on our hometown squad across the country? You need to check out Phillies Sports Trips. Join your fellow Phillies sports fans and book your trip with Phillies Sports Trips to cheer on the Birds this fall as they travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Travel packages can include chartered airfare, hotel, rides to and from the airport and stadium, game tickets, tailgate parties, entertainment, and more. Check out all the great Vegas travel packages Phillies Sports Trips offers. Visit phillysportstrips.com.
Are wasps, ants, or carpenter bees bugging you? Viking Pest Control can protect your home or business this summer. For a limited time, new customers save $50 on any service. Get a fast, free quote at VikingPest.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig, final segment of Sports Bash Saturday here on 973 ESPN FM. 973 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Sea City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 973 ESPN FM. Of course, Matt Blatt Kia. Visit them online, mattblattkia.com. Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. We'll get to some of your guys' thoughts and comments in just a moment. The text board 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Of course, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Got a bunch of messages to get to over there as well. Just trying to scroll my way up here to get to, because there's a lot of comments that came in. So a little bit earlier, a lot's been going on today. Reports are Phillies are interested in Craig Kimbrell. Flyers traded Jake Voracek for Cam Atkinson. For more details on both of those stories, go to 973ESPN.com or 973 ESPN mobile app right now. We will talk about all of it throughout the show today. James says on YouTube, Josh, how about one of the Marlins reliever closer Garcia? I have to agree with Steven in the chat. I don't think the Marlins are going to trade in the division. So I think that's a little bit of an issue. Steve Garrison says, I would take Kyle Gibson from the Rangers. The problem with him is he's probably going to demand maybe a little more than the Phillies are willing to give up. I am going under the impression that both Gibson and Kennedy are getting traded. And I don't know if the Phillies are 100% in on either guy. If I had to pick, I'd rather get Gibson from the Rangers than Kennedy. I think Gibson is interesting because he's under control contract-wise for one more year. So if you trade for him, he's not a rental. You can still play with him next year. But I think that will make his demand a little higher than it would be otherwise. So the problem with the Phillies is that they are in a situation where whether it's Kyle Gibson, Starling Marte, Craig Kimbrell, fill in the blank guy, the problem with most of these guys is that these guys are all wanted by other teams. Okay? The situation is that if you are the Phillies and you get into a bidding war with, let's say, the Dodgers or the Giants or the Padres or the Yankees or the Red Sox or, the Reds or any number of teams, you're at a disadvantage compared to most of those teams because of the fact that you don't have the trade ammunition some of the other teams do. So I think it's something to keep in mind. A couple more messages on here. Also, I saw someone bring up, and it's hard to, it was over a couple different messages on here, but someone mentioned about the fact that Roseman's going to regret taking Rager over Jefferson. That was Steve and also Kyle Dubray. Here's the problem. I mentioned this earlier. People love to point to, the Eagles passed on DK Metcalf. The Eagles passed on Justin Jefferson. And people overlook the fact, first of all, when it came to DK Metcalf, the entire league passed on him twice. So is that really the Eagles, or is it just the whole league messed that up? And then when it came to Jefferson, I'm telling you guys right now, Justin Jefferson would not have put up the numbers that he did in Minnesota and Philadelphia. He was in a perfect situation where he was filling the void of the Stephon Diggs targets. And he was on an offense with a quarterback who was not the worst quarterback in the NFL. So, unless you can prove to me that Justin Jefferson will put up the same numbers or equivalent numbers in Philadelphia last year that he did in Minnesota, I don't want to hear about how Roseman's going to regret the Rager over Jefferson deal, because I haven't seen enough of Jefferson and Rager under ulterior situations. If Jefferson doesn't go to an ideal situation like Minnesota, I don't know if he puts up the same numbers. If you swap Rager and Jefferson, Rager's putting up Jefferson's numbers last year in Minnesota potentially. So, there's a little revisionist history going on here. Context is king, folks. All right, thanks again to Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joining the show. Also, Mirin Fader. She joined the show. Her new book is Giannis, The Rise of an NBA MVP, coming out August 10th. So lots of great conversation from you guys listening and watching the show today. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend.
This Phillies season, the Sports Bash with Mike Gill has you covered.
Home is coming home. The throw not in time.
With the best Phillies coverage in South Jersey. On the air, on the app, and online at 97.3ESPN.com.
And